What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at the good, the bad, the ugly, the final installment in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy. Now, the good, the bad, the ugly is considered to be one of the all-time greatest Western movies ever made. I'm here to tell you that while I do think this movie is a good movie, I think it's completely, really overhyped, and that's just my personal opinion. Now, does that mean I think this is, like I said, as a again, does that mean I think this is a bad movie? Absolutely not. I think this movie is actually really, really good. And I'm going to illustrate my pros and my cons. Let's kick it off with the pros. The cast in this movie is phenomenal. You have Clint Eastwood making his return. This time as a character called Blondie, and he plays a bounty hunter. And as Eastwood was in the previous two movies, he's great in this movie. He has very little dialogue. All his acting is based off his stern facial expressions, and he just has that stern demeanor down pat. Eastwood is one of those actors who can get by on just facial expressions alone and just being able to say little dialogue. It's his facial expressions and his body language that does the real acting, and Eastwood is fantastic. Lee Van Cleef, who was in the previous Dollars movie, is in this movie now, playing a completely different character known as Angel Eyes, who is like this sadistic mercenary type of character. And I really, really like the character of Angel Eyes. I think his character is a little underutilized in this movie to an extent. I don't think we get enough Angel Eyes for me, because I love Van Cleef's performance as Angel Eyes. He has that right amount of sadisticness to him, but also has an understated, dark humor to him as well, to me at least. And I just think Van Cleef is a phenomenal actor. And I would have liked to have seen more scenes with Angel Eyes and Blondie, and with the other character known as Tuco, played by Eli Walsh. And the character of Tuco by Eli Walsh, funny character. The majority of Tuco's scenes is with the Clint Eastwood character of Blondie, and they play really, really well off one another. I think Eastwood and Walsh have a very understated chemistry in this movie. And Eli Walsh's comedic timing is really, really hilarious. He's really funny in this movie. His comedic delivery is not too cheesy or cartoony. It's movie based, it's character based, and it works for me because I got a couple of laughs out of his character. And there are moments where I actually was fear for his character. I'm like, don't kill Tuco off. Like I know he's a dirtbag, but the guy is charismatic. He's a charismatic character. And there's this one scene where he's getting bludgeoned, where he's getting beat to a bloody pulp by a soldier, and I'm just like, oh, please don't let this be the end of this character. I like the character too much. I think the character of Tuco is highly entertaining, and I think Eli Walsh is is a complete standout in this movie, to me at least. I think he outshines Eastwood, and he outshines Lee Van Cleef as well. Eli Walsh, to me, is the unofficial star of the movie in terms of a memorable character in Tuco. Really enjoyed the character of Tuco. The production value of this movie is fantastic. Sergio Leone's directing in this movie is outstanding. I love the use of these close-up shots, these landscape shots. This is a beautiful looking movie from a cinematography standpoint. And again, a lot of the close-up shots, you see like the wrinkles, the sweat off these actors, and you really get that up close and personal tension filled with a lot of these close-up shots. Some of my best shots, some of my favorite shots in this movie is the opening shot and the Mexican standoff between Blondie, Angel Eyes, and Tuco, which is a very intense Mexican standoff scene. It's brilliant. And you have the excellent score by Ennio Morricone, who's most famous for this, which movie, of course, this movie brought us the theme song, bum, 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 and of course, the Ecstasy of Gold. Great music all throughout this movie. Ennio Morricone is a classic composer, and and of course, one of the big highlights for this movie is the musical score, along with the outstanding production value and the fantastic acting from the three main principal actors. They all gel really, really well off one another when they're on screen together, and when they're in their own individual scenes as well. You can't take your eyes off them. Now, my biggest gripe against this movie is it's the runtime. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't mind 3-hour movies, but a movie to me needs to be 3 hours if the story you're telling is worth 3 hours. The basic plot line of this movie is simple. These three guys are after buried gold, which is in a cemetery. And this movie stretches it out for 3 hours long. There are a lot of scenes in this movie that borderline on filler and that you don't necessarily need. And to me, it bogs down the runtime, and it takes a lot away from characters that I would like to have seen more of. There are good chunks in this movie where Angel Eyes, he's not in the movie. There's really a long stretch of movie where he's just not around, and that's because he's playing he's pretty much in guise of a Union soldier. But that bulk of time, we're with Blondie and Tuco with no Angel Eyes at all. It's almost as if Angel Eyes, after his initial couple of initial scenes, he just falls off the face of the movie and doesn't really return till you get to that midway point. Then all of a sudden the movie remembers, hey, we got this Angel Eyes character. Maybe we should bring him back. And it's things like that I don't really care for, because a pacing for a movie is very, very crucial, because it dictates just how good of a flow a movie can do. And because this movie is really, really near 3 hour long runtime, it's just it could be a chore to sit through at times, because a lot of scenes are just played way too long, and you could have cut at least a good 40 minutes out of this movie. It would have ran much more smoother. It would have had a much quicker flow to it, because the overall plot to this movie is nothing really all that spectacular, and there are really a lot of scenes that are just filler. Tuco trying to get a gun is filler. The extended scenes of Tuco and Blondie as prisoners of war could have been cut down by a good 10 minutes easily. It's scenes like that you just don't need to have in a movie, because it just really brings down the runtime. But again, aside from that, it's an overall good movie. It's a really good story to begin with. It's a really good story, really, really well done and well choreographed and stylized gunfights, very memorable characters, beautiful production design, outstanding directing, outstanding cinematography. So again, does this movie deserve the praise it gets? Yes and no in some places. But does that mean this movie is horrible? Absolutely not. I did find a lot of enjoyment out of it, and overall, I do think it's a really, really good movie. But again, to me, this movie has a lot of filler to it. The pacing this movie 3 hours, but it feels like 5 hours, because a lot of scenes just go on forever. But you do have entertaining performances that do keep you captivated, and when you do get to the climax, it feels all worth it in the end. So I'm giving The Good, the Bad, the Ugly a solid 8 out of 10. Really, really good movie, though I do think people overrate it, and I don't think it's as good as people want to make me believe it is. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.